I'm Lauren with IndoorGardening.com, and today we're going to talk about how to take care of your Alocasia Frydek. Alocasia in particular are known to be very difficult to care for plants. They're something that is not recommended for beginner houseplant parents. Alocasia Frydek in particular is a more difficult variety of Alocasia. They are not easily cared for even by Alocasia standards. They're definitely a plant that you would want to have some experience caring for Alocasia with before you actually go and get one of these. If you have just picked up your Alocasia Frydek and you're kind of wondering what to do with it, or you see that it's struggling a little bit, don't worry, we're going to cover everything today. They're very particular about their needs because they're very thin stemmed and very thin leaved compared to many other Alocasia. That is why they are so difficult. It also means that there's not very much wiggle room within their care, so you can go ahead and be a little bit more specific. We can get down to the nitty-gritty in this video today for you and cover everything, so that way you can have a happy and beautiful, thriving Alocasia Frydek. As always with our care guides, we want to talk about the origin of these plants. Alocasia Frydek in particular are from the tropical rainforests in the Philippines. They like it very hot and very humid and constantly wet there, so those are the things that we're going to be focusing on here today. First thing we want to talk about with the Alocasia Frydek is lighting. These Alocasia in particular, because they're so thin-leaved, they do not need as much light as other Alocasia. They cannot handle the bright direct light that other Alocasia would be able to handle. They will burn, they will get little spots on their foliage. You will think that it might be some fungal or bacterial issue, but it's actually sunburns on their leaves because they are so thin. They do need quite a bit of light. Go for a less intense light for a longer amount of time, and that's going to be better for you. These plants, they really do love their light. They are used to tropical climates, but they are understory plants. They do not get as big as other Alocasia as well. And they will have a lot of shadowing going on. They will have trees above them. They still need quite a bit of light, especially for a houseplant. Just make sure that you are pulling a sheer curtain over your windows, that sort of thing, making sure that they're not getting direct light shining on their leaves, especially if it's afternoon light. Morning light is perfectly fine for them because the morning light is not as strong, but that bright afternoon light can burn their leaves depending on your location. If Alocasia Frydek is not getting enough light, you will see the petioles or the stems start to reach out and kind of be very gangly and attenuated. They're searching for light. You will also see leaf loss and leaf drop on a regular basis. They will not be able to sustain themselves. So lighting is very, very important for these plants. Another thing that's crucial for these plants is water. Alocasia Frydek cannot hold very much water in their very thin leaves. Their stems do not hold very much water either, especially compared to other Alocasia. They do not like to dry out very much at all. As soon as the top of the soil of the pot is dry, you definitely want to make sure that you're watering. These particular Alocasia, you can even have a pebble tray where it's wicking up moisture. If you have a self-watering pot, that would be fantastic for these as well. Do not let these plants dry out. They will not come back from it. You will end up with dry rot pretty quick, or you will lose all the leaves and have to start over from just a little corm at the base. If you can use some type of a self-watering pot or some sort of a wicking system, that would work better for you. Just definitely stay on top of the watering. Do not let these dry out. Next up, let's talk about soil. We talked about the soil not being allowed to dry out completely. You definitely want a moisture retentive mix, but you also want to make sure that it's well draining. These Alocasia, because they're a bulbous plant, they have their little corms at the base. They're thick, and if they sit in water, they will rot, unfortunately. They like to have aeration around their roots. Definitely use some combination of bark and perlite with your sphagnum moss and your soil. Have a nice chunky airy mix that's going to hold on to a lot of water and keep everything moist around those roots so they don't dry out, but you do not want them sitting in a puddle. So that's why self-watering pots, some sort of a wicking system, or having a well-draining mix that you water on a regular is going to work best for you. Let's talk about fertilizer. Fertilizer is usually sitting in the soil. You can use worm castings as a moisture retentive medium in there as well, and that will fertilize as well. Another thing that you can use to fertilize your plants is using a slow release fertilizer, or you can use a liquid fertilizer like Dynagrow. Something along those lines is going to work really well for you. Alocasia are all very heavy feeders. Alocasia Frydek in particular is a heavy feeder as well. You do have to be careful not to over fertilize an Alocasia Frydek because their foliage cannot hold on to very much. Their stems cannot hold on to very much. So they need smaller, more regular feedings versus an Alocasia that has a thicker leaf like a dragon scale. Those are going to need more heavy feedings, not necessarily as often. So fertilizing every watering a little bit at a time is going to help you a lot more with an Alocasia Frydek in particular. The next crucial thing for Alocasia Frydek is their humidity. They have thin leaves like we've talked about before. They do not hold on to a lot of moisture. They need a high ambient humidity to be able to hold themselves up. If they do not have a high enough humidity, you will see the leaves start to go floppy. They will not hold enough moisture. They will kind of flop over. They will droop. The leaves will get stuck. There will be a lot of different issues with your Alocasia Frydek in particular because they don't have enough to sustain themselves. They're used to a higher humidity and you've got to be able to provide that. So you can set them next to a humidifier. You can also use pebble trays. Make sure you're aware of your natural humidity. Like we said before, this is not a beginner plant. There's a lot of things that you have to keep track of when you're taking care of this plant in particular. Alocasia Frydeks, when they are older, bigger, and more mature, they can hold on to more and handle a lower humidity. So you can have them in your standard 40, 50, 60% humidity when they are a bigger plant. When they are a smaller baby plant, they only have a few leaves, definitely make sure that you are keeping them in a very high humidity situation, 70, 80% humidity. Shove them in those IKEA cabinets. The next most important aspect to taking care of an Alocasia Frydek is the temperature. Alocasia in general do not handle cooler temperatures very well at all. Alocasia Frydek in particular, because their foliage is so thin, will not handle cold temperatures at all. They need it to be warm. They want it to be 65 and higher. They want it to be nice and beautiful and toasty warm. Keeping it around 75 to 80 degrees will be prime for them. If you cannot keep the ambient room temperature very warm, you can also substitute by using a heat mat underneath your Alocasia Frydek. Keeping it just a little bit warmer around your Alocasia Frydek, especially around the root base, is going to help promote new growth. It's going to help promote a healthy root system as well. They like it to be very, very warm. Remember, they are from the Philippines in the rainforest and they like tropical conditions. So think tropical vacation temperatures, and that's what your Alocasia Frydek is going to want. So make sure that they're kept really nice and toasty. Keep that cold at bay. Before we let you go, we wanted to talk about all of the issues that the Alocasia Frydek can have for you to keep a lookout for. So some of the problems that your Alocasia Frydek can have include spider mites in particular. Because their condition needs are so particular, if you stray too cold, if you stray too hot, if the humidity is too low, these issues are going to cause your plant to be weaker, which automatically calls out to any spider mites in the area. It's just how it is. They're attracted to your Alocasia. Alocasia Frydek in particular is very, very susceptible, probably because, again, their leaves are so thin. It's just one of those issues that happens with this particular plant, unfortunately. So definitely keep an eye out for spider mites. Spider mites cannot be treated with a systemic, so you have to pay attention to what is going on with your leaves. Unfortunately, spider mites are immune to a systemic in your plants. You can't just give your standard systemic and call it good. You have to be cleaning the leaves on a regular. Insecticidal soap is a great way to do that. We do have other videos on pest treatment and how to clean leaves as well. So definitely take a look at those. The other issue that is very common with Alocasia Frydek is having fungal and bacterial spots on the leaves. Unfortunately, because they like such high humidity, a lot of times a fan does not accompany the high humidity, and water moisture, with them being kind of velvet leaved, will sit on there. Bacteria and fungus will grow on the foliage, and then you will have to chop the fungus and treat with a copper fungicide in order to get that taken care of. So we do have more information on that as well. Make sure to check out indoorgardening.com for more information. We're always happy to help. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully this helps you take care of your Alocasia Frydek. Hopefully this enables your Alocasia Frydek to thrive. Be sure to let us know how they're doing below. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye!